Hey guys, welcome back to your weekly update from Electric Avenue's YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me again, as usual. And it's going to be kind of an interesting week because really the new release list is rather small this week. I don't know why that happens, other than I think there's a lot of people that head out for spring break this time of year, and so they kind of take a pause. There's usually 1 week a month that's a little bit less, and same thing happens around Easter, usually every year, while we kind of gear up for the big record store day, April 22nd. So there will be some sort of bumps. So I don't have a lot of new releases to show you, but I do have a lot of things that I want to show you and sort of go over some things. All right. So I guess the biggest new release this week, if you look at the charts, probably would be the Miley Cyrus album that comes out. And they are on the way. We're just not allowed to get them until like within 24 hours before the release date. And so they will be here. Some. Anyway, I don't know. Sometimes these record labels, they're so wary of like shipping things early that they hold out to the last second because all it takes is one person to throw something up on file sharing and then it's everywhere. So I can kind of understand that in the digital sense. In the analog with records, they'll have to make rips of them and then upload those. So it's going to get out there one way or another. And hey, if people are interested in your record, maybe that's a good sign too. So it can go both ways. Anyway, the big reissue of the week, I would say, is Cake Prolonging the Magic. And last year, Cake put out Fashion Nugget. So this is kind of like keeping with the series. So yeah, I mean, if you spent hundreds of dollars on the box set, I'm sorry, they're going to be out here now. I don't think there's really anything sort of special about these pressings. They're just black vinyl, but at least it kind of puts these records in the hands of people that have been waiting for them. I suppose the kind of main things here would be "Never There" was the single that I remember anyway. "Walk On By" is interesting, and things like "Mexico" and "Satan Is My Motor." Anyway, Cake is I don't know. I think that they have a long-standing sort of core cult fan base, so that's pretty cool. In the jazz arena, there were a couple of things. I didn't show this last week. It sort of showed up late. It's the Eddie Lockjaw Davis and Shirley Scott box set. This is on Craft Recordings. Bernie Grundman did the reissuing on it, or remastering, of course. And these were all done from the original analog tapes. And it includes the albums Cookbook, Volume 1, 2, 3, and Smokin'. Shirley Scott, like I said, is featured as well. So that may be of interest. It's not cheap. Obviously, none of those audiophile things, and especially box sets, are never cheap. And then another thing that I did not have last week that showed up late is Carmel Jones. And this is featuring Harold Land, the remarkable Carmel Jones. This was one of those Pacific jazz records that Blue Note picked up the rights to and issued it as part of their Tone Poet series. When they've been doing these Pacific jazz ones, I don't think generally they've been gatefold. This one is not, but great jazz record mastered by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio. And I mentioned last week something about Kevin Gray. Is it Kevin Gray and the whole Concord Jazz, the OJC series that's being reissued? So Van Morrison, new record, Moving on Skiffle. This is a double album. It seems to be a little less, Van again with so much material, a little less on the hating on Facebook thing this time, or anti-vaxxing, whatever he does, and more just singing old songs that he loves, skiffle songs, things like Streamline Train, Freight Train. There's a lot of train songs. Streamline Cannonball, Cold Cold Heart, I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry, stuff like that. I mean, kind of the songs that you might want to hear him singing. It says Jimmy Page is quoted saying that he revisited songs from the golden age of skiffle, revisited, rewired, readdressed, and rearranged with this project. So anyway, this is not really a new release, but it is. I don't know why, but Silk Sonic, the Bruno Mars Anderson .Paak project, is being reissued already. It took them a year to get it out in the first place, and it was only out for a few months. So I guess this is considered the second pressing, but it seems to be black vinyl again. There's nothing that really says otherwise, but if you didn't get it the first time, it was out of print and out of stock for 2 to 3 months, and now finally we have it again. So now's the time. Rilo Kiley, Takeoffs and Landings. This is a Jenny Lewis pre-solo project. Her and, is it Blake? Can't remember his last name. Anyway, Takeoffs and Landings. Kind of a classic Rilo Kiley album. If you like Jenny Lewis, you might want to check that out. Yeah. I don't know what to say about that, except I have friends who are absolutely obsessed with that album and that era of that band. Mars Volta, Landscape Tantrums. This is unfinished original recordings of Deloused in the Comatorium. So if you are like a fan of that record, you might want to check this out. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tracks. The last one is a 12-minute track. So it's not like there's a shortage of material there or anything. A couple of reissues. We've got Ogden's Nut Gone Flake by the Small Faces. And this is remastered by Nick Robbins, a lacquer's cut at Air Mastering, part of Immediate Records reissues. I thought that this was going to be like a sort of in a clear package. So it used to be sort of like you could almost, the record was in the round. And I guess they've done this because it makes it easier to fit on a shelf and not roll around. So that's good. But it does say limited edition color vinyl. I'm not exactly sure what the color is. It doesn't say. But if you've been looking for a good copy of that record, let's see. I always screw up this guy's name. I think it's Mdu Mokhtar. Niger EP Volume 1 and Volume 2. Great sort of like African guitarist, singer, instrumentalist. He's captured in their home between 2017 and 2010. Rolling Stone magazine says this is how free rock and roll should sound. A collection of live performances and alternate takes spanning the band's vast career. So one is on limited yellow, one's on limited green, 2 volumes there. They're not expensive necessarily. So if you get both volumes, it kind of makes sense. Let's see, Cowboy Bebop by Seatbelts. This album has been issued in a variety of ways. If you're into like this anime soundtracks and stuff like that, it seems like a lot of like kids, teenagers, college kids really love this. This was sort of on Netflix and was put out by Milan Records. This is the double LP pressed on opaque brown marble vinyl. So this is kind of a limited edition. We have regular versions of this as well. And then I don't know if I showed the other one that came out last week too, but Overkill's Under the Influence, a reissue on yellow marble vinyl. It says half speed mastered. So if you're looking for a really good mastering job on Overkill. Okay. So I was going to spend, this is a very short as far as new releases, like I said, quickly just to mention, I'll go over some new releases coming up here at the end, but I thought that it would be good today to kind of, since there was a little extra time, go over some of the things that we've been getting in stock that maybe you missed because I haven't been putting them in the videos or featuring them in the videos. There are just so many records that come out every week now. And there are so many things that I've been getting that I haven't seen in like a year or 2 years, or in some cases, almost 3 years or more. So I felt like it was time to sort of feature some of those. So if you follow the store's Facebook page or whatever, you might have seen them, but in videos you wouldn't. This is one that may have passed you anyway. This kind of came to my attention a couple of weeks ago. They've been doing a lot of these ultimate collections for Sony and BMG. I guess this is a Sony RCA overseas. And this looked like a really good collection. A lot of people are familiar for Hall & Oates with the Rock and Soul collection. And this has, I think, everything from that, plus a couple other songs. The songs that were from Big Bam Boom that were not on that collection. So what Method of Modern Love and Adult Education are on here as well. But it's got 14 songs, and I'd swear to God, if anyone from the 80s doesn't know every single song on here somewhere, yeah, because we heard them all quite a bit. But it's a nice collection, so you might want to look at that. Things that I hadn't seen in a long time. So, I mean, if you've been in the store, you might have seen some of these things, but Lorde, her album Melodrama, which is probably, I don't know, it's sort of considered her best record, I guess, by most people. I hadn't seen this record in, I don't know, 2 years, and all of a sudden it started showing up again. So these are things that, because of the product shortages, supply chain problems, we weren't getting. Jeff Buckley, Grace, we were out of this back in like October, and it finally showed up again this week. This is an album that you would think that you could get all the time, but because of all of these supply chain issues, it had disappeared. And that was unfortunate because people were looking around for it as a Christmas gift and couldn't find it. Japanese Breakfast, a fairly new album, and it was out of print and out of stock for at least 6 months. And I kept thinking, like, wow, all of the sales that Michelle is missing out on during this time, I mean, to no fault of hers, really, but the record label either just couldn't seem to make them or couldn't schedule the time, and it was always a toss-up whether it was going to be her or Phoebe Bridgers that got made, and usually it was Phoebe, but both of them were sort of suffering from a lack of product at the time. In fact, I was just out of Phoebe's last record again, and it's actually arriving in the next 24 hours. So The Strokes, Is This It? Their debut record. And they actually re-added New York City Cops to this track listing, which sort of surprised me. I hadn't really noticed that. But maybe this, I don't know what the issue is, but the Strokes have been very popular, going through sort of a renaissance again. It's not like they ever left, but that sort of thing. It's good to see that out there again. I suppose I could even point out this guy over here, which Gorillaz Demon Days, we're sort of out of the regular edition of that right now and been waiting for a repress, but the picture disc finally came back in. Radiohead, OK Computer. All of the Radiohead records had been out of print and out of stock for months. We sort of saw King of Limbs start appearing, and then this and Amnesiac, The Bends, finally Kid A. A lot of these were coming from overseas. That's where they're pressed. So we're sort of at the mercy of when they decide to put them back out. The only caveat with the Radiohead reissues, I feel, is that XL, their record company, really raised the prices on them. So a record that used to be, this one used to be about 33, something like that, is now like 40, 43. Everything has gone up by about 20 to 25%. And so the good thing about seeing these records out there again is that hopefully with more of this variety of stuff out there that people actually want, that the price increases will start leveling off. They already have generally, but this sort of like kind of, I don't want to call it opportunistic sort of like thing that the record labels are imposing upon all of us as retailers by raising the prices. it's sort of a detriment, but now they kind of have to slow down because they're going to start losing sales. You know, you can only do that so much and not really anger people. So it's good that at least we're seeing some of these things again, because I think it makes things calm down. Actually, Smashing Pumpkins, Adore, the Post Melancholy record. I love this record, and it's very hard to find. Was for a couple years. I like how it's the alternate cover image that's in color, a wider image than the original sort of album cover. But this and Gish, I've seen quite a bit. Still no sign of Siamese Dream. Melancholy, the box was out for 3 minutes last fall and then gone, and that's something that needs to be rectified by the label. I don't understand what's going on there. Are they under contract to only make 5 copies? I don't really know. LCD Sound System, Sound of Silver. This album, depending on how you hold it here, it goes through waves of being available. It will be available for a while and then not for, it's usually like 3 months on, 3 months off. And the thing about it is that if you don't get it now, which it's sort of up at around $30. It used to be probably 25 or so. The imports for this are ridiculous. They're like in the $60 to $70 range. So if you miss out while it's cheap, you're gonna pay for it if you really want it. And I think sometimes it pays to be a little educated on these things, or at least keep watching what's going on with the products and the prices, and you really have to kind of be on top of it, because to just sort of go at an album that you want at any given time, you might be like in that group that ends up paying more because you missed out on what came earlier, and sometimes they don't make them again for a long time. Like this, Pearl Jam's 10. Haven't seen the one with this original cover for 6 months, maybe longer. They did have that remix version sort of appear last fall, and this is a very cheap album, $22, $23. So it's not like it's super expensive. I guess that maybe they put it down the list as far as making it because they realized that it's not making them as much money, so maybe that's what's going on there. I don't know. MF Doom, Food. We were out of this for at least 6 months, maybe longer. And this is another new repressing of this. And this is, I think it's on colored vinyl too. Oh yeah, it's on green and pink colored vinyl. And then this is sort of crept up in price a little bit too, but at least it's color vinyl, and it's, you know, it's sort of a desirable product. That's an artist that when those records were out the first time, they didn't really sell that well. I mean, they sold, but I think over time it's gained so much notoriety that it has a whole new fan base now that are into that. Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory. Another record that I was out of for a long time, at least half a year. And that just showed up again. All of the Tribe Called Quest albums actually just showed up recently. So now's a good time to get those if you're interested in those. Here's another one that sort of comes and goes. Elliott Smith, Either Or. His whole catalog is very spotty as far as like when Kill Rock Stars can keep up with all of this stuff. And you know, XO I haven't seen in probably 2 or 3 years now. That one's pretty much out of print. And that was more of a major label album. And a lot of these artists like him, Beck, you know, people think that, even Kanye, people think that every album of theirs is out in catalog being made, and it's not. I mean, they're spotty where it's like you might want Beck's Midnight Vultures or Mellow Gold, and those are very hard to find. I don't know if they're even in print right now. So Beastie Boys, all their records just came back in stock recently, at least all of the ones that were, I think the first one did too. Well, the first big one. But anyway, Check Your Head, Ill Communication, those are back in stock. Again, this is another artist like Radiohead, that label, Virgin, which is, they're all part of Universal. They really jacked up their prices. So, but they are out there. Run the Jewels stuff, every one of those albums was gone for a while, and now this is the most recent one, right? At number 4. They're all sort of back. They're kind of running out though too, because they'll be back for like 5 minutes to supply whatever that demand was, and then they're gone again for months. So Aerosmith, a few of the Aerosmith records came back in stock. Get a Grip. This is the one with Eat the Rich, Living on the Edge, Crying, Crazy, great album. Back when Aerosmith were doing their thing all the time. Let's see, System of a Down, Toxicity. This album, crazy enough, it like, when it starts going out of print or selling down, the prices go crazy on the internet for this, and it's normally like a $24 record, 25. So, and it's probably their biggest, I would say their biggest selling and most popular record. So, be on the lookout for that when you see it. Same thing with Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison. These things just came back in recently, 24. Korn. Korn records, I think, are harder to find than you think. This is a music on vinyl pressing, so it's an import, and it's actually a really nicely made. Music on vinyl is making amazing records these days. I think they've done a really good job with their quality control. Ghost. If you have Ghost, the EP. I think these were, I'm not sure if this was on color vinyl or not. Produced by Dave Grohl. This has I'm a Marionette, Crucified, great Army of Lovers song, Waiting for the Night, which was a Depeche Mode song. There's actually a few Ghost albums and records that have been recently repressed and reissued. Janet Jackson, Control. Everything up through All For You has arrived in the store recently, and I really have not seen All For You that much, so it's good to see those. Again, Virgin owns them now, and they're all more expensive than they used to be. Sorry. Same thing with Weezer, Pinkerton. Haven't had this record in almost a year, probably. So finally, we've been having the Blue record show up for a while, but it's nice to see that. Slayer, Rain and Blood. There are a couple of Slayer records that have been out. I think this one and South of Heaven maybe are the two that I have seen more frequently. Got Leon Bridges, Coming Home. That record was out of print for at least 6 months, maybe a year, and probably his most popular record still, because it's the most organic sounding old time soul record. Tears for Fears, Songs from the Big Chair. This record is being made in Europe right now, and so that's one reason that the prices are a little bit higher, because they're basically imports. But they sound great. This is the version that they fixed the mastering on, because for years and years this album was pressed incorrectly, even from the very beginning, because they had the channels switched on Shout. So the way the drums were panning was actually backwards from what they were supposed to be. So when they did the remastering and they consulted Roland, he said, yeah, they should be going the other direction. And so they fixed it. So that's a case of everybody who's such a purist about having the original, sometimes the original was wrong. Depeche Mode, this is Deftones, covers. This is a Deftones cover album. They do Drive, Please, 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 Let Me Get What I Want, No Ordinary Love, Simple Man Ghosts, which is a Japan song, The Chauffeur, Duran Duran, If Only Tonight We Could Sleep, The Cure. This is sort of hard to find, actually. And it's for a limited time, I would say. Let's see, another one of that sort of, well, earlier era. Sugar Cubes, Life's Too Good. Early Bjork stuff. This is probably, I consider it their best album. They had 3. Motor Crash Birthday, Mama, Cold Sweat. I think this is, you have to have this if you're a Bjork fan. I'm sorry. I know that she shares lead vocals with Einar, but it's mostly her. Mac DeMarco's This Old Dog. This was out of print for about a year, and a couple of his records are back in stock. Now, if we could only get all the Mac Miller records. I just saw Circles come back in yesterday, and that's great. That record, though, has been available a little more recently. I don't know where Swimming is. Swimming is like, it's been MIA for like a year, and that album is his biggest selling album. So I don't know. Maybe they're doing an anniversary edition. Now I can say Depeche Mode, Music for the Masses. Some of the Depeche Mode records were kind of out there. We did have some of Violator for a while, and we still have some. But this one, a little earlier, this is the one with Never Let Me Down Again, which has kind of had a recent resurgence because of some TV show and social media, I guess. But great late 80s album. They have a new record coming out March 24th. I'm looking forward to that. And finally, Lana Del Rey, NFR, this album also very spotty on the reissues, and when we get it, it sells very quickly because it's probably one of her most popular, I'd say first or second most popular records. It has gone way up in price again because Universal are controlling this. So sort of like the band The 1975, where the records are upwards of $45. The Weeknd is sort of the same way with maybe not the most, I think the most recent, Dawn FM was a little bit less, but After Hours is higher, and Starboy. Anyway, it's crazy. So, all right, March 17th, next week, we've got U2 redoing U2 songs. The new M83, that looks very interesting, and the new Unknown Mortal Orchestra. On the 24th, there's a live Pink Floyd. See, I'm getting ahead of myself today. Depeche Mode, new album. Lana Del Rey, new album. Mentioned those. Fall Out Boy's new record. Elton John's Honky Cat reissue, double reissue. Live Elvis record. On the 31st, you've got Boy Genius featuring Phoebe Bridgers. New Pornographers featuring Nico Case and Dan Bayar. And reissues from Alice Coltrane, Mac, what did I write there? Oh, Mac Miller, Blue Slide Park is being reissued. Britney Spears, all of her albums are coming out on black vinyl, I believe, that day. And Frank Zappa, the couple live records that were out on a recent CD. As far as Peter Gabriel, he's been dropping songs every month or so. And The Cure also premiered a bunch of songs on their tour. Both of them, The Cure were in Europe, are scheduling an American tour or just scheduled it, and tickets are going on sale soon. Peter Gabriel tickets, same thing. And those two albums, I'm hoping will be scheduled soon, because would love to see those come out sooner than later sometime this year. There's a lot of stuff brewing in the social media sphere, seeing a lot about Prince reissues, Diamonds and Pearls era, and so I think that all of this stuff is going to be kind of coming down the pike soon. But anyway, that's pretty much everything I know, guys. Thank you so much for sitting with me for this amount of time. I hope it was informative. I try to keep things moving and not annoying. All right. I know that some of these people, me included, I'm sure every week you're probably like, do I have to watch him again? Okay, I'll watch. So I thank you very much. And thanks for supporting the store mainly, and for watching, and have a great weekend. Peace. See you next time.